Let's shift focus now to the U.S., especially the protest encampments that have sprouted across several American university campuses, ostensibly to express opposition to Israel's Gaza operation. But they have devolved, you could say, in many cases into protests in support for Hamas and its aims, and anti-Semitic invective. Now some of those protests are encountering opposition from schools and local authorities, including at the University of Texas, Austin, at USC Los Angeles, at Boston's Emerson College, and at Yale, where police have arrested hundreds of protesters for trespassing and other charges. Now, these demonstrations have become a major national political issue now in the U.S. Here's the Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson and the White House spokesperson Karine Jean-Pierre addressing the situation.
To every Jewish student listening to us, no matter where you are around the country, you have my word. The U.S. House of Representatives will do everything in our power to ensure that you are safe, you can freely practice your faith, and you can go to school just like everybody else. This is dangerous. This is not free expression. This is not First Amendment. They are threatening, intimidating, saying that they will take violence upon Jewish students. We met with Jewish students who are in fear. They can't come on campus. They can't study for their final exams.
The president believes that free speech, debate, and non-discrimination on college campuses are important. They're important American values, and that and so he'll always be very clear. We will always be very clear about that here. Students should feel safe. Communities should feel safe, and we can't stay silent. Obviously, it is a deeply painful moment. He sees that. He understands that.
From all, let's go to our senior U.S. correspondent, Mike Wagenheim in New York. And, Mike, it does seem maybe this situation is reaching a tipping point where the actions of the protesters have become so brazen, there's finally serious pushback from authorities and going up all the way to Congress and the White House now.
Yeah, there's only so far you can go, and just creating disruption and disorder. Columbia University moving to remote learning for the rest of the school year. We've seen what happened on other campuses. Harvard, whether they want to admit it or not, turned on the sprinklers in the middle of the night to try to get the protesters off the lawn there. It's gotten out of hand, certainly so, not just in the sheer numbers, but the disruption throughout the campuses. And we heard from the Deputy Press Secretary, Andrew Bates, from the White House a few days ago, condemning the anti-Semitic nature of some of these protests and protesters. But the only comment we've heard out of President Joe Biden so far was on his way through the White House lawn itself, saying that he condemns, yes, the anti-Semitic nature of some of these calls on these college campuses, but also he condemns what he said is people not understanding what the Palestinians are going through. And critics say it's kind of that two-sidesism that Biden criticized Donald Trump for during the Charlottesville incident, which Biden said led him to running for president. It's filtered down now, as you mentioned, to Congress. There are calls to defund some of these universities, including Columbia University. Oh, that's a long, arduous process that goes through a number of layers, could be months, years before those investigations as to whether this is even anti-Semitism is even complete. And keep in mind the Biden administration hasn't finalized the definition of anti-Semitism yet. It's not due now until December, after a number of delays have transpired. So on a federal level, kind of stuck in gear right now. We've seen now at the state level today, at least here in New York, the Republican conference within the New York State Senate is calling for the National Guard to come in, at least at Columbia University, calling on the Columbia University president to resign, and for Democratic Governor Kathleen Hochul to support at least some of these measures. Meanwhile, at the city level, kind of astounding, the New York Police Department, which was banned from coming in to the Columbia campus a few days ago, responded to Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who chided and criticized the police for their actions on campus a few days ago. The chief of patrol from the NYPD, John Snell, tweeted out this morning that students are finally seeing the consequences of their actions, something they likely never were taught That's harsh language from the chief of patrol of the NYPD. He said the only incidents on these campuses were those of students espousing hateful anti-Semitic speech and vile remarks toward the police officers themselves. There were no other incidents to report. So now this is going now from a White House congressional matter to a local police force congressional matter. It has just spanned the spectrum of politics, law enforcement, academia. It has really become an all-encumbering phenomenon here within American college campuses.
Right, and I'm sure, and we'll have plenty of opportunity to speak about it. It's going to play into the upcoming elections in the U.S., nationally, on congressional level, and of course, I think we're really just at the beginning of this sort of chaos that's taken over many of the schools there. Thank you, Mike Wagenheim in New York.